Greetings, Theatricos Theater Company's presentation of Stories for the Season. I'm Becky Daggett, your host for tonight. And tonight's story is Way Too Many Latkes, a Hanukkah in Chelm. How did I do?
Perfect.
Written by Linda Glazer. And our reader is Nichole Katz. Welcome, Nichole, and happy Hanukkah.
Thank you, Becky.
Theatricos Theater Company has been performing in Flagstaff for almost 50 years, and we plan to be here for another 50. We've been busy this year, even though the pandemic has restricted our ability to gather in person. We've renovated the theater, created numerous performances online, and we're launching a citywide arts podcast live streaming show. I'm sure you can imagine that not being able to sell tickets to in-person performances has been challenging in terms of our budget. Despite this setback, we've been successful in raising $80,000 and are so grateful for the public's support. We have another $20,000 left to raise to ensure that we enter next year in great financial health. Supporters like you make the difference. I'm a monthly donor to Theatricos because it enables me to be as generous as I can while fitting it into my monthly budget. If you'd like to keep Theatricos thriving, you can make your donation online at theatricos.com and hitting the donate button. We have a fantastic 2021 season planned. These shows were selected to help us be flexible as we work through this pandemic. Whether we perform online or with smaller, spaced out audiences, we can't wait to show you what we have in store for you. Season tickets are on sale now, just in time for holiday gift giving. Now it's time to sit back and watch our newest online production of Stories for the Season.
Hello and happy Hanukkah. I'm so happy to be here with you tonight. There's so much to be thankful for. It's a beautiful day. It was snowing outside today. It's the first night of Hanukkah. I got to put lipstick on tonight for the first time since we started wearing masks in March, so that's a great thing. Things are good, things are looking up, and I'm just full of joy and celebration and grateful for all the blessings. So I'm thrilled to be reading this very special story for you tonight. It's one of my favorites. It's called Way Too Many Latkes, a Hanukkah in Chelm by Linda Glazer. In Chelm, the village of fools, Fagel makes the best latkes. But every Hanukkah, she only makes a tiny batch. If you're lucky, she serves you one little latke and you dream about it for the rest of the year, except for one year when everything went awry. It was the first night of Hanukkah. "Ah, I don't remember my latke recipe," cried Fagel. "How will I make potato latkes?" "Well, you always use potatoes," her husband Shmuel remembered. "But how many?" she wailed. "Was it 3 or maybe 4? "I'll go ask the rabbi," said Shmuel. "The rabbi?" cried Fagel. "What does he know about making latkes? Bupkis, nothing." "But he's the wisest man in Chelm," said Shmuel. "He knows more than you think." "Well, maybe you're right," said Fagel. "Quick, go ask." Shmuel ran to the rabbi's house in 2 flicks of a goat's tail. "Rabbi, help. Fagel can't remember her latke recipe. How many potatoes should she use?" The rabbi's stomach gurgled. He hadn't eaten much all day. "Tell her to use them all." Shmuel scratched his head. "Are you sure?" "Are these my feet?" the rabbi pointed. "Of course," said Shmuel. "Are you sure?" asked the rabbi. "Sure, I'm sure," said Shmuel. "Well," said the rabbi, "I'm just as sure about the potatoes. On Hanukkah, that's what potatoes are for." "Ah, you are so wise," said Shmuel, and rushed home. "The rabbi says to use them all," he said to Fagel. "All of them? Is he sure?" asked Fagel. "Are these the rabbi's feet?" Shmuel pointed. "What?" cried Fagel. "Shmuel, where is your head?" "Right here," He tapped it. Don't ask silly questions. Let's just do what the rabbi says. So Fagel grated all the potatoes down to the very last one. Then she clutched her head. I, with all these potatoes, how many eggs should I use? I'll go ask the rabbi, said Shmuel. He raced over in 2 snaps of a chicken's beak. Rabbi, help. How many eggs should Fagel use for the latkes? The rabbi thought for a minute. His stomach rumbled. Use all the eggs you've got. Shmuel scratched his head. Are you sure? Is this my nose? The rabbi pointed to his nose. Of course, said Shmuel. Are you sure? Sure, I'm sure. Well, I'm just as sure about the eggs. On Hanukkah, that's what eggs are for. So Shmuel ran back home. Use all the eggs. What? Cried Fagel. Is he sure? Is this the rabbi's nose? Shmuel pointed to his nose. What? Have you lost your head? Shmuel felt it. No, it's right here. Let's start cracking eggs. So Fagel cracked all the eggs down to the very last one. Done. Then she groaned. Oi, but how many onions should I use? I'll find out. Shmuel ran to the rabbi's house in 2 flicks of a mule's ear. Onions? The rabbi tugged on his beard. His stomach grumbled. Use all of the onions you've got. Shmuel's eyes bulged. Are you sure? Is this my head? The rabbi pointed. Of course, exclaimed Shmuel. Are you sure? Sure, I'm sure. Well, I'm just as sure about the onions. On Hanukkah, that's what onions are for. Shmuel ran home. The rabbi says use them all. Oh, my goodness. Fagel threw her hands in the air. Is he sure? Is this the rabbi's head? Shmuel pointed to his own head. What? Cried Fagel. My husband doesn't even know his head anymore. What next? Onions, exclaimed Shmuel. Don't you remember? Let's start chopping. So Fagel started chopping. She chopped and she chopped. Then she fried up the latkes, up to her elbows, up to her armpits, up to her earlobes, and each latke was a crispy golden masterpiece. Done. She wiped her hands on her apron, and then she held her head. Oy, we have too many latkes. If we eat all these latkes, we'll get bellyaches up to our eyeballs. Shmuel nodded. I'll go ask the rabbi what to do. He raced over in 2 shakes of a cow's tail. Help, Rabbi, we have way too many latkes. No, the rabbi shook his head. There is no such thing as too many latkes. He held his finger up just like a true sage. Not enough mouths. Very wise, nodded Shmuel. But Fagel and I only have 1 mouth each. Ah! The rabbi's stomach growled loudly. Don't worry. I can help. I'll come to your house and I'll bring my mouth with me. But then they got to the house and the rabbi shook his head. I can't eat all these latkes, not even if I stuff my mouth from now until the last night of Hanukkah. I moaned, Fagel, what will we do with all these latkes? The rabbi stroked his beard. There's only one answer. We need more mouths. More mouths? Shmuel felt around his mouth, and there weren't any more mouths. The rabbi shook his finger at him. Not our mouths. Go invite the whole village. Quick, while the latkes are still hot. Tell everyone to bring 1 mouth each. On Hanukkah, that's what mouths are for. And so Shmuel did. The whole village rushed over to help solve the problem of too many latkes. And oy, did they help. On Hanukkah, that's what a village is for. There were just enough mouths and just enough latkes, down to the very last one. The end. And that is one of the wonderful stories of Hanukkah. It reminds me so much of my childhood growing up and eating latkes on Hanukkah. I have so many beautiful memories with my mom who taught me how to make all of the Jewish food for the holidays, and especially latkes. So I wanted to share with you tonight some special tips that my mother shared with me on making the best kind of latkes that will taste amazing. They might make you feel a little sick, but you'll enjoy making them and you'll be able to share them with your loved ones. So I just wanted to share those special tips with you tonight, and hopefully you'll be able to make your own delicious latkes. So first of all, the potatoes are key. Obviously, you need to get a big bag of potatoes. If you go to Safeway, right now they're on sale $3.99 for a 10-pound bag. I like to get the white potatoes, but they didn't have those. They only had the russet potatoes. So I got those. That's fine. That's no big deal. So basically, you just get your potatoes, you peel them, and I would suggest putting them in water first because they will turn brown very fast. So if you put them in water first, and let them sit in water while you're prepping everything else, they won't turn brown. So that's a big tip that my mother taught me. So next step, you want to get a proper grater. That is really key. My mother used to have one of those silver ones that had a grater on all four sides. I can't seem to find one of those old-fashioned tin ones. So I have this one. And I learned the hard way that this one doesn't work very well. It really doesn't. So I would try and I would grate, and your knuckles start hurting and your knuckles start bleeding, and it's terrible work. And my mother used to say, you need to put elbow grease into it. And if you have a little knuckle and a little skin and maybe a little blood, it's okay. But I don't want that in my latkes anymore. My mother did that, but I don't want that in my latkes. So I learned a really great trick a couple of years ago after we were trying to grate with these not so great graters. I learned a good trick, and I learned to use the blender. So now I just put them in the blender, and you'll get it to be a consistency. And now these turn brown. I didn't put them in water. So you can see they turned brown because they've been sitting here. But you want it to be a consistency kind of like this. It's kind of like mashed potatoes. And you're going to grate them in that, or puree them in the blender until they're kind of that mashed potato-y consistency. And then they're ready to go. So once you're done with that, you're going to put them in a big bowl. You're going to add an egg or two, depending. If you use 10 pounds of potatoes, I would add 1 to 2 eggs, and then a tablespoon of flour. And they can be gluten-free. You can get gluten-free flour. That'll work just fine. So you want to put all that together, and then you want to put an onion in the blender and blend that up so it's nice and same texture, kind of soupy. And you're going to throw that in, and you're going to stir it all up, and then you're ready to fry your latkes. So the next tip my mother taught me is the pan. Now I use this copper pan, and I find that this works great. Teflon pans, I have a really hard time with. I find, yes, they don't stick, but they don't crisp up that yummy, delicious latke way. So I find that this copper pan works great. If you can get one of these, or an old-fashioned just metal pan works the best. That's what she had. I wish I had her old pan, but this one will suffice for now. So I use this Teflon pan. And then the key, the biggest key of all, grapeseed oil. This oil is the best for frying latkes. It's great at high heat. The latkes won't come out tasting greasy and oily. You know, when you have a heavy oil, the latkes really take that on. But this one is great. So you don't have that heavy oily feeling. It's just delicious. And it heats up really nicely. So you're going to put that about, well, I'd say a ½ inch thick in the pan. You really want to have a lot of oil to fry them in. And another big tip that my mother would teach me is you have to make sure the oil is hot before you put them in the pan. So really heat up that oil nicely. Make sure it's hot. And you can do that little test where you throw a little water in. If the water starts to bubble up and sizzle, you know it's ready. So that's a key. And then you're ready to go. So you're going to just spoon them about probably yay big into the pot, into the pan, and let them start to sizzle. You don't want to turn them until they start to brown on all the sides, really start to brown. You can see it. And then you're going to flip them. And if you're lucky, you have a special latke flipper, and you flip them in a pan, and then you take them out when they're ready. And something really important too, make sure you have a plate handy with paper towels, and you're just going to coat it up. Don't tell there's a Santa plate underneath here. You're just going to coat it with some paper towels, put the greasy latkes on there. That'll absorb the extra oil. And then you're going to want to pat it down on top and get the rest of that excess oil. And then you're going to put some salt on it, and you're ready to eat them. Now, something my mother taught me, and we do as well now, is we stand around the kitchen. We take turns at the stove. Someone's on the stove, someone's patting the latkes down, and we eat them as they come out. You don't want to wait. Latkes aren't good sitting. You want them hot, right off the oil. They're so delicious. So we just stand around the island and we gather and we eat our latkes as they come out of the frying pan. And something else we did as a kid, and we still do that now, is we take bets to see how many latkes we can each eat. You can use your Hanukkah gelt to bet on. You can wager something else, some other prize, but it's really fun to try to guess how many latkes you can eat. You're going to feel sorry about that in the morning because you'll feel it for sure the next day. So if you're going to take bets, I would definitely get some enzymes ready, but enjoy that fun and see how many you can all eat, and kind of have a contest to see who can eat the most. But it's super fun and it's a wonderful way to gather. Make sure you have the condiments. That's really important. I like applesauce and sour cream. I like to dip one in the applesauce and one in the sour cream and kind of mix it up. I got spoiled and I like to make homemade applesauce. But if you're pressed for time, there's a really great organic applesauce with Honey Crisps that's delicious. So I'd recommend this one. It's North Coast brand and it's delicious. So you can take a look at that and use that. And then just stand around the island and eat your latkes and enjoy the holiday season. So it's been really fun sharing my mother's latke tips with you tonight and reading that wonderful story. I wish you all a wonderful holiday season, many blessings, stay safe out there, and just be grateful for all of the wonderful things we have. Thank you so much and have a great night.
Thank you, Nichole. That was beautiful. And I'm excited to try to make some latkes, and we'll see how. I'll let you know. I'll let you know how I do.
Good luck.
Thank you. So thank you for joining us, and we hope that you enjoyed tonight's story. Join us again on Saturday when Tony Sotera will read Yes, Virginia, There Is a Santa Claus. The schedule of stories can be found on the Theatricos website. Once again, that's theatricos.com. Please consider donating to Theatricos this month and be part of the team working to start us off strong in 2021. You can find out more information by going to our website. All right, have a great night. Thank you for tuning in.